Good day everyone, welcome to this presentation. In this presentation I will explain how you can fill up your program logic matrix using your instructional design. In our example previously, we talked about how a faculty development program or elements of a faculty development program can be converted into elements of your program logic model. It is important that you know your program logic model because it will help you in a large way in preparing your program evaluation design. Today, the focus will be on how we can convert or utilize the elements of our instructional design in filling up the program logic model matrix. Central question always is, how do we fill up the long-term, intermediate, short-terms, the resources, activities, outputs? Where do we source them? Let's say you have a course offering and you have an instructional design. We know that these are the basic elements of your instructional design. So, how do we use all these elements and convert them in components of your program logic model? Let's say your ILOs. So your ILOs will be the source of your short-term, intermediate outcome, or long-term outcome. For your activities and outputs, you can actually source them from so many elements of your design. You have your content, your time frame, your teaching learning activities, and of course, your evaluation. And for resources and responsible person or persons, you can actually get that also from the resources and responsible person element of your instructional design and put them in your resources. And what would happen is that you will have all these elements of your program logic model matrix. You will notice that session LOs are longer here because technically you should have more session learning outcomes compared to your course learning outcomes. Session outcomes will be more or in number in relation to its mother module. Now, in relation to your content, time frame, teaching, learning activities, and evaluation, you notice that they cut across activities and output, because in the planned column, basically what you have are the planned content, planned time frame, planned teaching, learning activities, and planned evaluation program. And in your outputs, what are the results? Were you able to cover the content that you intend to cover? Were you able to run it according to the time frame that you planned it to happen? Were you able to implement all the teaching learning activities that you plan to implement? And were you able to conduct all the evaluation programs that you want to use in the context of the course? So those are your observed, and therefore when you are able to implement your planned activities, you should be able to produce the outputs. And again, for the resource person, responsible persons, this will be in the resources, but of course you can also add your faculty, other human resource requirement for that. But let's say, for example, you want to evaluate not just a course, but the whole degree. Then we talk about degree, then that will be longer, and therefore there will be a sliding of your intended learning outcomes. Your course ILOs, that is a long-term outcome for a course offering, may actually be just a short-term outcome for a degree program. And your degree program outcomes will be intermediate, and the long-term program outcome will be the impact of the graduates or your program to the bigger community, or even performance in the national licensure examinations. So long-term outcome at this particular point will be outside of the institutional milieu. It will have to be when your students are out there in the open, in the workplace environment. How are they performing? Are they supposed to be where they're supposed to be? So you can actually just slide back and forth between your outcomes depending on the degree or the levels or the type of evaluation that you want to perform. So I hope this will be able to